Do you need a new home for your business checking account? You might want to check out Bluevine. Bluevine is a financial technology company that does just about everything a big traditional bank like Wells Fargo or Bank of America does, but they do it cheaper and faster. And unlike those big banks you know and probably don't love, Bluevine will actually pay you a halfway decent return on the money you keep in your checking account. Bluevine is an online-only banking platform, which means they have no physical locations anywhere. There are no bank branches you can visit. That means you can apply for an account and manage literally everything online without ever setting foot inside a branch to get business done. So what's wrong with those big traditional banks? Well, a lot of things. First of all, they're really behind the times in the features they offer. Setting up new accounts is hard, sending wires is clunky and expensive, and they charge you fees for all kinds of things that should be free. And if you get really lucky, you might find one that will pay you 0.5% on the money that you keep in your account, but more often than not, they're going to pay you a whopping 0.01%. If that sounds like nothing, it's because it is nothing. And to make things worse, these banks will actually take money from you by charging you a monthly service fee for $10 to $15 for all the service that they don't do, which is holding your money for you. And all the while, they're making hundreds of millions, maybe even billions, from all the money that their customers are letting them hold on to, while not only not paying them anything, but taking money out of their accounts. It's crazy. And this isn't even accounting for inflation, which is also costing you a lot each month. If you've ever wondered if there's a better way, there is. It's called Bluevine. You can take that same money sitting in your traditional bank account that's losing you money each month and bring it over seamlessly to a platform like Bluevine and actually start making a little bit of money on it. And not a ton of money, mind you, but depending on which plan you sign up for with Bluevine, you will almost certainly do better. At the time of this recording, if you sign up for their standard plan, which has no monthly fees, they'll pay you 2% APY. Or if you have a higher cash balance in your account, you could sign up for their premier plan and get up to 4.25% APY on balances up to $3 million. Now keep in mind, as time goes on, these APY rates may fluctuate, so if you're watching this 3 years from now, maybe it'll be different, but that's what it is at the time of this recording, and it's a pretty awesome deal. And keep in mind, these accounts that will make you 4.25% or some higher APY, they do actually cost money to have these accounts, which at first I was like, what? It's a little counterintuitive. Why would I pay a bunch of money to have my checking account? Oh yeah, because every bank makes you do that. But to have a premier account with Bluevine currently costs $95 a month. That's a lot more than $10 to $15 for a servicing fee. So I ran the numbers to try to figure out, okay, at what point would it actually make sense to pay $95 a month to make 4.25% APY? And I asked ChatGPT about this, and according to ChatGPT, you'll come out ahead as long as you keep a balance of $26,823.53 or more in there year-round. So if you're somebody who has a lot of cash just kind of sitting in your bank account collecting dust and not making any money, say if it's 50, 100,000, a million or more, it could make some sense to pay this and bring it over to Bluevine. And this could be a much easier way to make at least somewhat of a return on that money instead of sticking it in a CD with a bank where you literally can't get access to it for 6 to 12 months at a time. The benefits of using a traditional brick and mortar bank are really becoming a lot less relevant and helpful as the years go on, especially if you run a business where you don't have to deal with cold hard cash on a daily basis. I'd be hard pressed to think of any significant reason to use a traditional bank. These online banking platforms are faster and easier to set up, their mobile apps are designed a lot better, and they're even more fun to use. And for the most part, they're free. If you want to see how easy it is to set up a checking account with Bluevine, I actually recorded a whole other video showing the entire onboarding process. You can really get this done pretty quickly and pretty easily without leaving your computer. I'll link to that video below if you want to check it out. REtipster does have an affiliate link. All you got to do is go to retipster.com/Bluevine, and that'll help support the REtipster community. So Bluevine is like most other online-only banking platforms in that it's not a bank. Bluevine is a financial technology company that offers banking services through its partner, Coastal Community Bank, which is a member of the FDIC. And Bluevine accounts are insured up to $3 million per depositor, which is a lot more than you'll normally get from a traditional bank. And aside from how easy it is to set up your Bluevine account, Bluevine also makes it really easy to set up sub-accounts. You can literally set them up in seconds, and Bluevine will allow you to have up to 5 sub-accounts per account. And this is enough for most people, but if you want to go nuts with this and just have a ridiculous number of sub-accounts in your account, I'm going to link to a couple other similar banking platforms to Bluevine. I'll have links to those below if that's something important to you, if you want to check those out. Now, one unique thing about Bluevine is that they've actually been around for a while. Most of these online banking platforms that I've reviewed are fairly new to the game. They've been around for maybe 3 to 5 years or something like that. But Bluevine has been around since 2013. So compared to a lot of their competitors who are newer to the scene, Bluevine has a pretty good history and track record, and they've had plenty of years to work through some of the growing pains and hiccups that a lot of these banking platforms will encounter. Another nice thing about Bluevine is that they offer customer service through both email and phone. And I've used both, and I was happy and got my problems solved with both of them. Surprisingly, most of the other online banking platforms I've reviewed don't offer loans and loan products, but Bluevine does. Bluevine offers a credit card, a business line of credit, and a term loan. So if you want to borrow some money, you'll have some options here. Now, granted, I've heard from some friends who have gotten these lines of credit from Bluevine that the interest rate is pretty high, but it's a super easy source of funding to work with once you get approved. If you just need access to cash and you don't want people to ask you all kinds of questions and approve every little thing you do, Bluevine could be a good option, especially if you're not planning to have that money outstanding for a long time. If you can turn it around pretty quickly, even if the interest rate is high, it won't be that expensive in the long run. You just got to be a good manager of your cash. Now, just in my personal experience of working with Bluevine, I can tell you straight up, their online interface and their mobile app are a dream to work with, and you can set up auto transfer rules that allow you to manage your cash with automatic transfers among your main account to its sub-accounts based on whatever rules you set. Now, if you run a business that requires you to write checks on a normal basis, Bluevine will allow you to issue checks and they'll mail them from their facility, or they'll also give you a couple free checkbooks a year. So if you're looking for one of these online banking platforms that you can actually use physical checks with, like right here on your desk, you can do that with Bluevine. Now, if you're running a business that does require you to work with cold hard cash on a daily basis, this can be a little bit harder to do with an online banking platform like this. However, Bluevine kinda has a solution because they have connections with over 90,000 green dot locations and 1,500 all-point ATM locations around the country. You can also withdraw cash at these locations too. So if you're curious about where those locations are and if there's one anywhere near you, I'm going to include links to a couple different maps where you can see where they all are throughout the country. But as long as you've got one relatively close to you, it could be a helpful way to mitigate this problem. Now, keep in mind, if you do need to deposit or withdraw cash, there are fees with these ATMs and you are limited in terms of how much you can deposit per day. So if you really have a cash heavy business like a convenience store, a restaurant or something like that, then you may want to explore other options. But just keep in mind, if you do have that occasional need to deal with cash, they do have somewhat of a solution here. Now, let's talk about fees. What kind of fees are there with Bluevine? Well, similar to a lot of these online banking platforms, there are no fees for the most part, especially if you sign up for the free standard account. You're not going to make as much per year APY with the money you have stored there, but you're not going to get nickel and dime for hardly anything. They do charge fees if you're sending domestic or international wire transfers, but I can tell you, based on my experience with traditional banks, the fees that Bluevine does charge for this is about half of what you'd normally pay at a normal bank. And what if you're not a US citizen, but you have a US business entity? Can you apply for a checking account with Bluevine and get accepted? Well, this is something that some of Bluevine's competitors are known for and have done a pretty good job of. But with Bluevine, in order to apply for a business checking account, you have to have a US business entity with an employer identification number, and you do need a social security number, which doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a US citizen, but you got to either have your green card or be a non-immigrant worker or be a student with work authorization. Somehow you'll have to check whatever boxes are necessary to get that social security number. And if you can't do that, then you can't work with Bluevine. So if that's a problem for you, just be aware you may want to try some of the alternatives. Again, I'll link to them below if you want to check out those reviews that make this one aspect of the process a little bit easier if you're outside the US and you're not a US citizen. And what does the internet think about Bluevine? Is this a well-reviewed company? Well, I did some searching and also asked around in the REtipster community and actually got a lot of great feedback. Several people in our community said that they have either worked with them in the past or they currently work with them or they're approved for lines of credit with Bluevine. And for the most part, everybody's had a great experience that I could see. There's always going to be some folks on the internet that have random bad things to say, but just judging by the rating of their mobile app and just the general consensus from what I saw around the internet, there's not a ton of haters out there. And given that this company has been around for over a decade, they got to be doing something right if they've been around with that amount of longevity and not everybody hates them. You won't necessarily see that same sentiment for all the big traditional banks out there. So if you want to give Bluevine a try, REtipster does have an affiliate link. All you got to do is go to retipster.com/Bluevine, and that'll help support the REtipster community if you sign up and get approved. And if you want to explore other options, again, I've done reviews on a number of other online banking platforms similar to Bluevine, so be sure to check that out as well if you're still shopping around. Thanks again for watching. I'll talk to you next time.